My name is Andrew. I am a rancher, a marksman, an outdoorsman, and a bladesmith. I've spent most of my life seeking adventure in one way or another, or in one place or another, and I would like to share all of that with you.
What's up, folks? Today I'm going to go over what I call my boo-boo kit. So this is technically Medkit, but it is focused more on your general everyday wounds, things that are non-life threatening. And while it does have some parts of it that can be used for more dangerous wounds, I don't have things like a chest seal or quick clot in here. I just have a lot of the basics and some of the things that I found that I wish I had in my experience. Contrary to the purpose of this boo-boo kit, I do have a couple of things that are sort of intended for more major wounds, and that's sort of because I would rather have it and not need it than need it and not have it. So right on the outside, I have my primary tourniquet, and while I am no professional in the medical field, I do know that if I need a tourniquet, I am most likely going to need it right now. So I don't have this on the inside of my boo-boo kit. I have it right on the outside, and I have it all set up and ready to go. I've practiced with it, and I know how to deploy this quickly. So aside from that, on the outside, I have my trauma shears, and I got a reasonable pair of trauma shears, and it is one that I have tested doing what is commonly called the penny test. So basically, if you have a pair of trauma shears, first thing you want to do to see if it's actually a quality pair of shears is see if you can cut a penny in half with it. And these definitely do that. And they're still sharp and still able to cut anything that I need them to. Also is a Sharpie on the outside, and I'll use that to write the time, usually on a tourniquet, if I have to. The next thing you want to look at is the pouch that you have decided to put your med kit in. So most of the time people will recommend, especially if this is for actual wounds, that your pouch be something that you can open quickly. So I went with an actual med kit pouch, and that is designed with a piece of Velcro on the top, so you can rapidly open your pouch. That's in the case that there really is something serious going on and you need to get in now. You don't need to fumble with zippers and buttons and anything complicated like that. You just tear that bitch open and you're on the inside. As soon as you get inside my med kit, I have two things. The first is going to be my secondary tourniquet. They typically tell you to carry two of these, and that's because 90% of the time, the first tourniquet is not enough, and you actually do need to apply a second cat tourniquet. And just like the other one, this is already set up and ready to deploy. All you need to do is put it onto the affected area, tighten it up, and then you're ready to deploy. Also, right in the front, as far as trauma goes, is an Israeli bandage. So there's an awful lot to talk about with these, and there's a lot of videos out there that you can watch. So maybe I'll do one of those in the future, but just think of this as a high quality compression bandage, which goes over any large wound on an extremity like an arm or leg. So that pretty much does it for the scary trauma stuff that honestly I am not even that well versed in, but at least I have something and I do know how to use what I have. Aside from that, I have the general everyday kit that I think everybody should have at least most of these items. And the first one there, right behind trauma, ironically enough, is the emergency blanket. So the human body at about 95 degrees starts to lose its clotting function. And when you're losing a lot of blood, you actually run the risk of going hypothermic. You could also go into shock just from even a basic wound that wouldn't typically be life-threatening, but it's just kind of scary, hence the boo-boo kit. So an emergency blanket is incredibly important, and anytime somebody has a wound or even has seen something that is just scary, one of these can be the difference between life and death. Right behind that in my kit is going to be medical tape. And yeah, I mean, you can use this for, wound closure, things like that. Or you could even, in a pinch, use this as kind of a crappy tourniquet. But I carry this for most of my little cuts and nicks on my fingers and stuff like that. And this is the best thing in the world for blisters on your feet. What you do, you get a bad blister on your foot, especially one that may have had the top torn off or something like that. Or if it isn't torn off yet, tear that sucker off, put this tape over the top, don't feel a thing in your boots anymore. So this is literally my favorite thing in the world, and I will always carry medical tape with me no matter where I go. Also in the boo-boo range is some bleed stop. They actually sell this stuff at Walmart, and it's actually marketed towards diabetics, but I started carrying this with me because my dad was working on a handle for a machete in the shop, and I left him alone for just a couple of minutes. And then when I came back into the shop, he came bursting through the door, holding his hand in the air, saying, "We got a problem." And I like telling that story to everybody because we used some of this bleed stop on his cut, which was pretty superficial. It was on the finger, and you could actually see the bone. So there was a little bit of blood going on. And we just rinsed it out in the sink and then packed some of this powder into his finger, and he didn't need stitches, closed it up, stopped bleeding like in seconds. And it literally says that on the package, stop bleeding in seconds. So this stuff is absolutely great, but comes with a warning. So my girlfriend is a paramedic, and she actually gets a lot of diabetics who are using this stuff because they have thinner blood and they're using this for, any kind of basic wound they have because they won't stop bleeding. And they end up getting this into their eyes all the time. So you want to be really careful with this, and it will help close some of those bigger superficial wounds, but don't panic and don't get this in your eyes because you're going to have a problem bigger than what you originally had. But we're going to come in a little bit closer for this because this is a lot of my smaller stuff in here now. And this is my medication pack. So I'm going to have Dramamine, acetaminophen, and then I believe this is ibuprofen. I have Benadryl and Zyrtec. And I do believe that this is, let's see, I know what I got. Oh yes, this is Imodium in here as well. So that's cool because you never know what's going to happen. You could be out and suddenly develop cold. You might need some Tylenol for that. You might have some bad allergies. Or in the case of the Benadryl, you could be having a really bad histamine attack, and that could just be the difference between a closed airway or not. And I like to have a little bit of everything with me at all times, just to make sure I've got a little bit of something there. Finger splint. So, funny story, I was out homesteading with one of my buddies up in Arizona, and I crushed my finger. So it has not been the same, and that's because I didn't have a finger splint with me. I just taped a freaking stick to it with my trusty medical tape, which I always have. But now after that, I decided that I just want to have a finger splint with me because my finger healed crooked, and I guess that's pretty common, but I feel like it could have ended better if I hadn't spent 4 days up in the mountains with my finger taped to a stick. So there's that. Let's see. Vinyl gloves. Vinyl because they are more hypoallergenic, and I have 8 pairs in here, and that's just because I seem to find myself needing these pretty regular for a variety of different reasons. In the case of you treating a wound, it's a good idea to have those on hand because you don't know what kind of blood diseases somebody may have that you're helping out, and it'd be darn shame if you saved their life and then ended up with something like HIV or something else like hepatitis. So goggles, gloves, those are great to have. Don't have goggles in here, but I have some in my pack, so whatever. Polysporin, so that is bacitracin zinc. Can't pronounce it, but So Polysporin, really great for preventing infection. This is actually the one that my girlfriend recommended to me over Neosporin. Don't know the difference. She's the paramedic, not me. Got some Burt's Bees lip balm, and then I have some cortisone, some hydrocortisone cream in here. And I started carrying that because I did a trip up to Wyoming and I got bit by mosquitoes so bad. I probably had malaria or something. My entire arm swelled up, and if only I had had some of this at that time, it definitely would have helped that reaction. And in line with the boo-boos, I got some Band-Aids and then some alcohol prep pads. The one thing that my kit is actually missing, and this is one of my favorite things, and unfortunately it's a one-hit quit. You only get one use out of it. Usually carry a tube of saline wash, one that you can squeeze and has just a little stream come out of it. And that's because, I don't know if I'm cursed or something, but I seem to have a tendency to get things in my eyes. And maybe it's because I live in the desert and there's lots of dirt and dust, and then I also woodwork, so there's usually a lot of sawdust around me. I always seem to manage to get something in my eye, and I did. So my saline wash is now gone, and I'll just have to restock that. But that's something that I recommend getting as well. And those are really easy to find. You can find them on Amazon for $1.50, $2, or you get a pack of 12 of them or something like that. But that's pretty much it for my kit. Hope you guys liked it. If you got any questions, leave them in the comments. And if you got any comments, keep them to yourself. Thanks. Bye.